friends, we have people joining it. We have Dejan Sarka has joined and Hendrik has joined. So friends, you are now allowed to talk and you can just unmute yourself and participate in this roundtable. Thanks, Tracy, Jess, Hamish, and Michelle for taking out time for this very important roundtable. Thank you so much.
No worries.
All right. Well, I was going to start off with let's take the time to introduce ourselves and share our pronouns and tell us a little bit about ourselves. Do you want to start, Jess?
Sure. My name is Jess Pomfret. My pronouns are she and her. I am a database engineer. I have been for almost 10 years. I'm also a cloud and data center MVP, which I'm really proud of. I have a passion for automation, and I am involved in DBA tools, DBHX, and some other open source PowerShell modules. I will pass on to Michelle.
Thank you. So Michelle Goodside, I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I just got my MVP title, woohoo, after 10 years of being in the community. I've been in IT for 33 years and 23 years with SQL Server and the data platform. And I work for Pythian. It's a North American company that provides 24/7 services for databases and other many things. And I pass it to Hamish.
Thank you. Yeah, g'day, kia ora, hello. I'm Hamish Watson. I've been working in IT 8,048 days, I think it is, which is 22 years and a couple of weeks. I'm also Microsoft Data Platform MVP, and I run my own business, which is kind of exciting because it also allows me to choose who I work for, and there have been times when I've chosen not to work with a company because they don't fit in with my own principles and stuff, which is kind of cool way to work sometimes. I'm going to pass on to Tracy.
I'm Tracy Baggiano. My pronouns are she and her. I'm also a data platform MVP, newly minted in August. I also won the Passion Award with PASS this past month or something. I work at DocuSign. I've contributed DBA tools, DBHX. I did a lot with DBHX with CIS compliance and stuff. I do a lot of SQL Saturdays, like close to 20 a year if it wasn't a pandemic year. So I still managed to squeeze in 8 or 13 talks at SQL Saturdays this year, somewhere around there. And I'm looking forward to this panel. So I have some preset questions that we can ask if people don't have some for us already. Does anybody have something they want to ask us, or shall we start our own questions? I will take that as start our own questions. So we'll start with Michelle. What unique characteristics, skills, or background do you have that your workplace has valued?
Thank you, Tracy. So, I have a long one. We all know that IT is a male-dominated industry, especially in North America. This is from my experience. And also not related to that, I've noticed that in our profession, we often tend to discuss technical matters only. So as a woman in this field, the way I get by is by trying to connect on a personal level and creating healthy communication channel. I've noticed that, especially working with male and me, I go from client to client. So it's not like I know everybody. I meet new people all the time. So I need to be able to connect quickly. And I figure that when working with men, it's a little bit, maybe awkward for them to start working with a woman professional. So I am very lucky to have a multicultural background. So I have lived in different countries with totally different cultures, and I speak few languages. So this allows me to find common grounds with a lot of different people and create icebreakers based on common grounds to enable more closer personal relationship with colleagues and clients. I always try to build a fun work ambience first, because I believe that people will remember you not only for your knowledge, but also for the way that you made them feel. So my company unfortunately tends to let me deal with some of the most difficult clients. So I try to approach those clients on a more psychological or political level first. And also I'm really trying very hard not to take a bad attitude personally. And when face-to-face or on video, I always try to smile often. And this is a great icebreaker I really warmly recommend. So that's my take.
All right. Jess, do you want to add anything?
That's a great answer. I think the common ground is really the most important thing, right? I mean, we all come from different parts of the world, as we were just discussing, and we all have different viewpoints, but we have to be able to find that common ground to be able to bring our different viewpoints in to be useful, right? So yeah, that was a great answer.
Thank you.
Hamish, your turn.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Actually, I have to apologize. I forgot my pronouns. My pronouns are he, him. It's 3:30 in the morning here in New Zealand, so I'm still trying
You're
to wake
excused.
up.
You need
I also
coffee.
forgot I also forgot I was a Passion Award winner as well in 2019, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm still Hamish. Okay. Look, for me, it's the common ground for me has always been being respectful and being kind. And, you know, if we at least start from there, it's a pretty good starting point, because it means that we, even like the times where we make mistakes, there's a difference between making a genuine mistake, and there's a difference between actually being quite a horrible person. And I think if in my life I've made mistakes where I have made people not feel included, or I've made someone feel not included, and I haven't done it intentionally. I just haven't understood where they're coming from. And it's over the years, I've had to learn to say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I didn't understand. And I think in life is a journey, and we have to make some mistakes along the way to actually grow as a person. Because if you look at a data professional, right? How do you define what a senior DBA is? They're the person that has over the years made massive mistakes, but learned how to make appropriate change. You know, they've recovered from that and made amends. And I think for me, you know, in that situation, yeah, starting off from a common point of actually being a kind person, it's at least a good place to start, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I have to agree, being down to the personal level with someone and trying to meet them there is a great way to start, because that shows that you care about somebody. And anytime that you show you that you care about somebody, you're breaking down barriers, no matter what they are, no matter whether it's being a woman in IT or any other identity that you may have that they're not quite sure of what to do with. That just helps break down barriers. So
Yep.
I would agree with that. You had a great answer, Michelle.
Thank you. I said it was long.
Well, that's okay. We've got 75 minutes to fill up, so we need long answers.
That's cool.
Does anybody have, Henrik or does Jane have any comments that they would like to make after that, or ask questions for that question? And I may have pronounced your name wrong. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did. I'm Dayan Sarka. He, him. and I've been data platform MVP for 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I got quite a lot of experience. I would like to point out that with all of these big things about diversity and inclusion, is somehow forgotten that things are different in different cultures. So if I let me try to be a little bit more concrete. First, I will do, let's say, more little bit more negative thing. Please don't be offended. But when you said be kind and so on and smile, in our culture, especially in East European Slavic countries, this looks a little bit stupid. So, you know, when Americans say excellent, we say good. When we say good, we mean good. And Americans are usually offended. What do you mean? Is it that bad? No, we just mean it's good. That's it. We don't, I mean, like extraordinary or excellent, we use once per year, not every 2 seconds. Okay. So this is one thing. So like being too kind, I prefer to have initially just professional relationship. And you know, like when I come to American stores, it sounds always stupid to me. How are you doing today? I mean, like, have you seen yesterday? Who are you to care? How am I doing? So my usual answer is, look, yes, my back hurts. I'm broken. My wife left me, and then they stopped asking me, you know, these kind of questions. Anyway, okay, so this was it. So first, I think this should be also important. But the other thing I wanted to mention, more positive also about diversity, I mean also about different cultures, is that very typically, especially in our countries, we have much, much less problems with equality, much less. And this is something that I was seriously disappointed. You know, we were living in socialism. So then you come to freedom and suddenly you see that we were much more advanced in many, many topics in many ways, you know. Like when I grew up, I'm pretty old, I'm close to 60, and I have an older sister. And even in like 60s and 70s, we were grown up by our parents completely equally. It was not even a question, you know, who is we never really asked. So I actually never even noticed these things until people start talking about. And I must admit that for years I didn't even believe that this is a problem. Because I simply didn't know. Also, like, you know, race and things. And like in former Yugoslavia, we had a lot of students from Africa. We played basketball together. And seriously, I can still remember the names, but I don't remember who was black, who was white. You know, we just simply didn't notice these things. And anyway, the point is that even through these years, I somehow learned that this is still incredibly, but this is still an issue, and it's still somehow hard to believe this, you know, that this is still an issue in so many countries and in so many very, very developed countries that are very proud of their democratic history and so on. And I just wanted to say positive way that now I really sincerely support all of this, and it's still a mystery to me why this shit happens seriously.
Yeah, it's a mystery to us too. So that's why we're talking about it.
It was a great point. Sorry, Tracy.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was a great point. I was living in a country that is more Eastern European culture, and I had to adjust to the North American mentality. First of all, the way that we talk here. So I totally understand what you said. It's the way that we say things are totally different, and I actually had to read a lot about how to say. So for example, when you say can you we would say would you. So this is I don't know if North American people or even people from the UK, you notice this because you're used to a specific way of saying things, but people from other countries, especially when English is not the first language, we have to learn how to talk North American or, you know, UK style. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Good.
Yeah, it's interesting, because whenever I'm talking to someone from another culture, or in fact, when I'm talking, it's a two-way thing, I think. And I find not being dismissive, or actually, see, when I talk to someone from another culture, I find it as a journey of discoverment. And when I traveled, I pretty much bring a whole heap of Kiwiness with me in terms of both how I speak, how I kind of act. But again, finding that middle ground, because, you know, people probably think that I'm stupid for the way that I've said something or acted, but I think that they should think about how they're thinking, because I'm not being stupid. I'm just not used to their culture. I'm possibly a visitor. One thing I always did, I know the word shukriya, which is thank you in Indian, because every country I went to, I'd always find out how to say please and thank you. I'd probably mispronounce it, but I gave it a go, and you'd see that immediate reaction, because I was trying to meet people halfway. I didn't know all the cultural nuances of the places where I visited, but I felt, I was gonna try, and the good people tried as well, because you've got to listen to people and see what their intent is. And my intent has always been, I'm new here, but I know a little bit. Help me learn more. I'm going to start here. And again, it's just, I'm going to say, don't be dismissive when you're dealing with people from another culture or gender or whatever. Try and actually do that understanding. Because if we're like, well, you don't know anything here, it immediately shuts it down, and I really don't like that. Sorry.
Just showing some effort, right? Like you said, learning please and thank you when you go to another country, like that just shows that you made some effort to learn about the culture and to not just come in and expect everyone to be able to speak English, right? I think that's a big show on your part, even if you only learn a couple words. But
yeah,
I like that.
That's a good starting place. Definitely traveling to countries like that. I'll have to remember that next time I'm in Europe.
So for me, it's a daily effort, because I'm living in a French place, and I don't speak French. So I really try to speak the language. And here, I think it's different here a little bit, because when people here know that you live here, they tend to not accept the fact, even if you try to speak, and my French is very bad, they look at you a little bit like in a bad way. So I have to deal with this on a daily basis, where, I'm a non-Anglophone person speaking English in a French province. So I had to adjust here a lot. So I don't have to travel anywhere. I just have it here, that issue.
Right. Any more comments at this time, or shall we try our next question? All right, on to the next question that Jess said she would tackle for us first. Can you share some examples of where you felt you could or could not bring your whole self to work?
Okay, so a story. My first database admin job. I graduated from the University of Akron in Ohio, and I got a job in Akron, same city, working as a database engineer or database admin for a small company who was known in the area to be very conservative a lot of their major clients were Republican or religious organizations. And I went to work there, and I definitely didn't bring my whole self to that job. So I'm gay, and that was not something I felt like I could bring on the first day or even the whole time I worked there. I worked there for like 2 or 3 years, and I never talked about my partner. I never talked about what I did outside of my work, really. That would refer that I had a she at home, and that we lived together. So that situation, the company had no diversity and inclusion language in their handbooks or in any of their intranet pages or anything like that. They didn't have any groups that discussed those issues. There was nothing that made me feel like that was a welcoming environment. And the somewhat stereotypes, but the perspective that I had of the company, just who their clients were and who the people were that they mostly represented, made me feel like that probably wasn't the safest place for me to be. But I needed a job out of college, and that was the only option I had at the time. So I went and worked there, and I learned a ton about databases. They had a great environment for learning, and I met a lot of great people there. But they only knew part of me, right? They only knew the part of me that was at work from 9 to 5 or whatever. They didn't know what I did the rest of my time outside of the office. So I left that company after about 3 years, and I went to a company that was prided themselves on being more inclusive. They had a LGBT employee resource group. They had several other employee resource groups for other groups as well. But right from the start, it was everywhere. It was in their handbook that certain practices, and it just made you feel more welcome, right? That you could bring your whole self to work. And that change from being somewhere where I didn't take my whole self to work and then going to a company where I did was unbelievable. Like the amount of effort you have to spend to hide part of yourself every day, like thinking about what you're going to say, whether I'm going to slip up and reveal something that I don't want to, and then going to a company where it didn't matter. I could say that I went home to my partner, or we went and did this, or like it takes a huge amount of effort to hide that. And when you can finally stop doing it and stop worrying about it, it makes a huge difference to just your overall productivity and happiness, right? So that's my example.
All right, we'll move to Hamish to see if he's got an example.
Yeah.
At 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, Jess, I didn't really have an example, and then your example made me travel back in time. I'm going to talk about my first job out of university. I had a degree in chemical engineering, which is fantastic for the software industry, by the way. And my first job as a process analyst, I worked in an industry. It's the meat industry in New Zealand. I worked at a fowlmongery. If you don't know what a fowlmongery is, it's pretty horrible work environment. Like there's a lot of chemicals and stuff. And that particular industry sort of it's still in the 1950s, and I have some mannerisms. Like I am a quarter Maori, which is Indigenous people of New Zealand, but three bit of English, Irish, Scottish, what have you. And early on, I realized that the place where I had joined was still in the 1950s in terms of their viewpoint on everything, and I had to invent kind of a new Hamish. I had like this. I haven't thought about this for decades. I had to have this outer exterior because 90% of what they said was degrading to about 100% of everything. Every topic. And my nickname was Maori Boy, which wasn't meant as a compliment for my heritage or ancestry. because I had some mannerisms that you can recognize in New Zealand that I'm Maori. And I used to think about it when I went to work. I'd put my clothes on and then I'd zip up this outer exterior of Hamish. And it was my first job. And I stayed there for just on a year. And then I joined a company, and I'm sorry if I'm bringing religion into this, but the person who employed me was a Christian. Cool. It didn't actually matter in any terms in how we and why they employed me, but they were a really, really kind person. And I'd gone from this horrible situation to a company where this person was really kind and understanding, and they had such a far better work culture. They also had a code of conduct as well, which was nice to have that. And I think in some respects, the horribleness of that first job, I actually on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. No, it was oldfriends.co.nz used to put where you worked, and I actually put the first company taught me everything that I'd never wanted to be, and because I was angry for a couple of years after leaving there, and I actually removed the entry because it wasn't conducive. But I turned my viewpoint in that I never wanted to be. If I ever was in a management position, I was never going to call someone by their last name and say it in such a way that it was like they were spitting my name out. And it's how I got into computers, because the general manager said to me, "Watson, you've got a degree." He said a few other words in there that I can't repeat here. You're going to look after the computers. Like, I didn't get a say. And the only people with degrees in the company were myself and the accountant, but whatever. And I decided at that point, well, not exactly at that point, but as I dealt with that horridness, it made me a better person. And the only thing I was ever really good at being a manager was not being a manager. I was someone that my staff could always turn to. I was their peer. I just helped at times insulate them from other managers. And I think, wow, sorry, that was a long answer. I went on like a big old journey in my head there.
Okay.
That was, but hey, Jess, thank you. Because that was, made me remember. And you know what? It's ongoing. Because I unzipped that Hamish, by the way. I've never gone back to that version of Hamish. It was draining.
Yeah.
It was yuck.
It is very draining. How about you, Michelle?
So, okay, so I have a story. So this is the time to reveal that I'm originally from Israel. Okay, so being a woman, being from a country where, people have a lot of opinions about, and being Jewish, that's, I didn't, sometimes I have, I think before I say where I'm from, depending on the person that is in front of me. So, but my example is not related. So I came to Canada 15 years ago, and I already had, 4 kids by then. The Israeli culture is that on your resume, you put your date of birth, your marital status, and the amount of children that you have. So I'm coming from that culture. And so I was interviewing in Canada for different jobs. And I was talking about my kids, and I was talking about everything personal. And I had a great interview with one of the local companies. And I knew that I was a great fit for that company. Okay. And eventually they didn't hire me. I had to go, and I was hired by another company, and I was not in my field. I was hired to be a Sybase DBA, and I wanted to stay with SQL Server. And 2 months after, the same guy that interviewed me called me and said, you know, we hired someone else, but we know that you're a great fit. Please come and work for us. And I decided to go back and work for them. And after a few months, one of my colleagues told me, you know, I will tell you a secret, but please don't repeat it. They did not want you they did not want to hire you because you're a woman and you have kids, and they were afraid that you will not have, you will not spend enough time at work. So that was the mentality. And eventually I was working extra hours. I was lucky that my partner was you know, very involved in the kids' life. So I was able to work long hours, and I actually made a lot of changes on the database team, and they were very, very happy with me. So for me, it was new because in Israel, we have 12 weeks of maternity leave. Here we have, they have 1 year. And the women, we go back to work right away, and there are places where the kids can go, but it's not the mentality in North America. And I was really surprised. So it really hit me by you know, very hard to even imagine how the discrimination goes here. So I'm not sure if it's something related to the Quebec mentality or if it's North America, but yeah, that was, it gave me very bad feelings. So.
Well, as me, myself, as someone that has mental health issues, I constantly, with every job I've had, except for like the last 2, I've had to like constantly try to pretend like I'm not having problems. And that's very hard to do when you're depressed or manic, because I have bipolar and I have a lot of anxiety, and trying to manage that when medication is not quite working the way it's supposed to. It's very difficult, in trying to get people to recognize that. I know the first time that my psychiatrist wrote me a note to be out of work for a week, the company that I was at, somehow it got out that that's why I was out of work. So there was a lot of rumors going around and people talking behind my back and stuff. And then my boss, during my annual review, brought it up and he made up he said people were saying that the reason I got the note was because I was mad someone got to go to a conference that I didn't get to go to, or something like that. And it's like, you can't get a doctor to write a note for that. I mean, I was seriously having problems at that time. You know, me and my husband were going through a divorce, and stuff like that was going on top of the mental health condition that wasn't quite working with medications. So, you know, I find a lot of companies aren't understanding about that, but I pretty much came out wide open with it on the web and talking about it now. So almost the whole world knows. If they don't know, oh well. If, you know, I just openly tell my boss after I start working there, or if they don't know ahead of time, I'm going to take mental health days if I need them. And, you know, that's to save my sanity and to make sure I can work productively for you. So
that's interesting, because my company is exactly the opposite. They are very attentive to the personal issues. For example, one of my colleagues had cancer, and they basically gave him time off just to relax, paid vacation, even though it's not in our benefits. I also know of people that, through divorces and stuff like that, like big crises in life, the company was very understanding and actually just gave time off without, non-official vacation days. So I'm very happy to work where I work. Also, we have we're very attentive, like the owner of the company is very attentive to diversity and inclusion. And this is something that I'm really happy. In fact, they're trying to hire based on, to hire minorities and more women. And I'm very happy with that culture. So I find it very satisfying.
Yeah, my current company's like that as well. It's like all my other companies except for the last two were just not like that at all and not very understanding at all. And you just, so I had to do a lot of pretending around people and try to keep up, pretend like you're not depressed is very hard for 8 hours a day. And it's just hard. So I just try not to be around people all day. So, but now I don't have to worry about it. So my company is very supportive of things and very supportive of the things I do outside of work as far as volunteering and things like that as well. So it's a very nice environment. They have the employee resource groups for people, and they donate to causes and all that stuff. So DocuSign's really good about that. So any comments from other people in the room based on that question?
Henrik, would you like to ask any question to the panelists?
Oh, there's something in chat. Don't really have any questions. Okay. We will move on to the next question.
Okay, they don't really have any questions. Okay, yeah.
All righty. So, Hamish,
Okay.
you might have technically already answered this one, but have you ever felt left out of work due to your identity, either when engaging in work or social activities? With that first previous job, it kind of sounds like you were.
Yeah, I have a different, I have another answer, and it was where others did. And this is at another company, and there was a lot of really good stuff at this company. However, there were, I guess, statistics or some excuse like that could excuse the behavior of individuals. There were a couple of people that were quite vocal of their opinions, and some people could not bring their whole self to work. And I knew the people, because one of the things I used to do when I worked in large companies was I would say hello to every single person, except 3 people, because I worked out pretty quick they didn't like me saying hello to them in the morning, right? So I stopped, because they felt uncomfortable. And so I am a person that engages with people, and I'm going to be honest, the current situation with, when in New Zealand we had lockdown, I really felt I couldn't bring myself to work there, because for 20 odd years I had worked with people, and suddenly I'm in a room. That's why I have my kids. They're always with me in my office. Anyway, that's another story. I engage with people, and I realized that some people were quite offended by what these other people were saying, but no one would say anything. Everyone's just like, or they'd laugh, because these people were making jokes. And so I stood up, because I'm pretty, I don't know how to say this, energetic person when it comes to everything. I mean, It's 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'm possibly more awake than other people are at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And though I recognized that my peers were having a horrible time at work, And so I approached the people on their behalf. I was like, hey, I didn't name anyone. I was just like, hey, I'm calling this out. This is wrong. I don't like it, because you're actually classifying people almost as subhuman. That's really wrong. What you're doing is degrading to people. Cut a long story short, I had to go to senior management because, those people were so narrow-minded and horrible that they refused to accept it and refused to accept the viewpoints of the other people. And so, yeah, I had to raise it, and I followed it through. And in the community, there have been situations where people have either felt not safe or felt intimidated or anything. And I'm quite happy to stand up and help, because I don't want them to feel intimidated or unsafe. And I will, it's a quick sort of decision in terms of, how do I do this appropriately? And again, standing up for someone doesn't mean that I have to be angry on their behalf. It's having that conversation with people and saying, hey, look, what you're doing is not right. I really want you to actually put yourself in the other person's shoes, because what you're doing is making people feel bad, and let's not do that. And for a while there, my tagline has always been, be kind. It's been used by a lot of people this year with the current situation, and I really hope that people, in any situation, just be kind. Meet people that halfway, understand, and just look for signs. The signs won't always be obvious, but if you do see something, just reach out and say, hey, is there anything I can do? Or how's it going? To be honest, I say that most of the time anyway, because as I said, the signs are not obvious at times. So by being that sort of voice, I guess, that was one way I could do it. By being a supportive person. I've done peer support since I was 17. I used to work with disadvantaged Maori kids at my high school who had reading difficulties and stuff, because they didn't know where to go, because they didn't want to admit it to teachers. Whereas I reached out and said, can I help? And then did it more officially. And I think, the more that we can just reach out and try and help people, and we're never going to get it right. There are times where we'll get a little bit of it wrong, but again, still making that effort goes a long way, rather than just going, they'll be fine. They're not going to be fine. I'm not fine. We just go to help each other. Yeah. Sorry, that was a long answer.
That's
Good.
Nope. That was your turn to give a long answer. Michelle, you got anything to add to that?
Me, I always go back to the male-dominated industry. So when I used to travel and go on site, we usually had like after work events, and I'm a sports freak. Like I'm a certified trainer as a hobby, and I do a lot of sports. But ask me about sports, I have no idea. Like ask me about hockey players and all those games, I'm totally out in the woods. And usually what people talk, like the guys, you know, talk about sports, and I'm totally left out. I tried, you know, it's not my first interest, so I don't, you know, I don't find it interesting to look for the names and to the games. So me, I feel left out because most of the topics are related to sports when we go out, and usually I'm the only woman, so that you know, it's like I really try to have a conversation, so I have to switch the topic often, and it's like that. So that's my take.
Yeah, I worked in a company that was mostly, well, it was all white males basically, except for a few females. And I was a single parent, so like anytime they did something after hours, it was just a no-go for me. I just couldn't do it because like dad wouldn't watch the kid. So I could do anything unless it was his days. So so I always got left out of most of the social things. I missed like even the Christmas things they did, Christmas dinners they did sometimes with our department. I had to miss those a couple of times because they weren't on the days that my son was going to be with his dad. And so, you know, I just got left out of a lot of different things like that because of situations like that, you know. So being a single parent sometimes can limit your ability to do social activities. And, you know, maybe they should have did Christmas lunch so I could be included, but they didn't. So, oh well. Jess?
So my example was also going to be from like a social situation, which is kind of interesting, right? That we all picked social situations that's where we get more left out. So I don't drink alcohol. So anytime that we go to like a bar or something, like I'm happy to go and hang out, but I get bored pretty quickly, you know? So I think, and I heard Irish talk about this a while ago, just about having parties at conferences, at bars and stuff, or like the sponsor parties or whatever. Like it isn't super inclusive to do it based around alcohol because there are a lot of people that don't drink or don't feel comfortable in that situation, even if everyone is getting drunk, you know. So that was my quick answer.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Me too. Same thing. What? Do you not drink? Not even a little bit? No.
Yeah. How about this one?
Yes.
Yeah, I might drink like one beer and that's like it. And then it's like they're trying to like push you to drink like several more, and it's like, and everybody's drinking like 100, it feels like. And it's just like, nah. I wanna, you know, have my cognitive abilities left. And then sometimes I just don't drink at all. So any questions from the participants after that round of questions?
We have
we got a new
Trissa. We have
participant.
Trissa who has just joined. Trissa, you're allowed to talk now. You can unmute and ask questions to the panel.
And we just got done talking about being left out of social activities at work because of our identities, like being a woman and not being able to do certain things, like me being a single parent, people not drinking and stuff like that. So, and not being able to do social activities with our colleagues.
Teresa, did you put your hand up for a question? Oh, no, now you've put your hand down. Maybe you're just waving.
Well, I guess we'll move on to our fourth question. I don't have a point person for this question, so it's going to be eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who do I want to pick, or who jumps in first? We'll see who jumps in first. What obstacles have you faced at work due to your identity? Hamish is distracted, so he probably didn't hear it. So
I did not. Sorry.
See?
I find that the best policy is honesty. I'm sorry.
I know. That's why I wanted to make sure you heard it. So that's why I called you out. So no offense or anything. What obstacles have you faced at work due to your identity? So I'm just going to let one of you jump in first, and
I can start.
Okay.
It's not necessarily because of my identity, but as I said before, English is my third language, but I strictly work in English. So sometimes I feel like the language may be a barrier, especially when I work with the entire world. So not being Anglophone, sometimes I find it very hard to understand different people speaking in English. And also this is my insecurity regarding the languages. So when I have to speak, I really, I really admire all those people that were born Anglophone and are able to speak without saying ah, 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 ah. I was reviewing my presentation and the recording, and I'm like, oh my God, I say because I don't have the right vocabulary on the top of my head. So it's very hard to learn a language skill. Well, for some people it doesn't come so easily, and obviously at a certain age it's kind of impossible. I'm trying to learn French for 15 years and I'm still not able to. So I find that that's a big barrier for me. That's a huge obstacle for me when I want to express myself, and all of a sudden I'm like out of vocabulary. So that's my take.
I will say I'm always really impressed when people whose English isn't their first language or even their second language present and public speak in English, because English is my first language and I still can't find the words quite often that I want to say, and it's I have a couple of friends at work who are European. English is not their first language, but they speak it as if it was, I'm always impressed, because I have personally struggled with trying to learn even just please and thank you in other languages. So you're doing excellent.
Thank you.
I say and ah in my presentations, and that's the only language I know is English. So you're doing just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So I will tackle the obstacles thing as well. Due to having mental health issues, a lot of time I'm not as productive at work as I'd like to be. So sometimes, to get around that, to help me feel more productive or to make myself more productive, I have to make me long to-do lists that just list tasks that are really small to get a bigger task done. So I can, concentrate on just something small for a little bit and get things done. And because otherwise my head just starts spinning out of control and going, oh no, I got this big thing to do, even though it's just like something small. And it's just and that's just to help me concentrate, because when you get depressed or anything like that, you just can't concentrate that well. And that's my way of forcing myself to concentrate, is just to break down everything into the tiniest possible thing. That way I can try to be as productive as I can, no matter what thing I've got going on at the time with my mental health. So anybody else, Hamish or Jess?
I don't particularly have any obstacles that I can think of right now, apart from my first story of my first company. I think just being able to be your authentic self and bringing that to work, I don't particularly find any obstacles. I'm obviously a woman in tech as well, but I can't say that I have at least noticed being talked over or experiencing any of those other things that people mention. So
you hadn't trained somebody and had them promoted over you first? I'm just using that as an example of something that happened to me. I literally trained somebody that came in behind me at a company, and he got promoted to the senior position before me.
Wow.
All white males, what can I say? It happens.
Well,
that's why it's important. Go on.
It's America. What can I say? It happens.
Yeah. So it happens to me that I have a colleague that is the same level as me, and some people at the company, some of our colleagues, for example, sales or marketing, they contact this person first for some reason. And I was trying to understand why it is. I've been told that it's not because of the gender biased thing. I don't know, just a matter of chemistry, I guess. You know, maybe they feel more comfortable. It's mostly men that are doing that. So I have a gut feeling that it's gender biased, but I cannot prove it. So I have no way to fight this, right?
Right.
Yep. Hamish, time for one of your wonderful stories. They sound good at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Without vodka.
Yeah, I guess I I got sort of passed over promotion, or didn't you know, get to work on projects and whatever that, or you know, get put on a project that was, I don't know, had travel, or you know, all the cool things or whatever. And the reason being is and it's probably a 50-50 thing here. The people within the department that I had worked at, the person in charge was yeah, they wanted, and yeah, they all I'm going to say is they wanted like-minded individuals in a club. And if you didn't fit a certain mold in your way of thinking, or you didn't just say yes whenever they, you know, myself and another person there, we actually formed an alliance together because I refused to just go to meetings and just be like, yep, everything's fine. You know, I would actually say, look, we have this issue here. We need to do X, Y, Z. This is what I think will solve it. And the way that they managed us, yeah, I didn't agree with. And so, yeah, I got passed over promotions. And part of me was like, I wish I had got that, you know, like I didn't get recognized for the hard work that I'd done, because we had a personality clash, because I like to be kind to people. I like to listen to people. And they basically, when you talk to them, you were not given an opinion. No, sorry, you could not present your opinion. Your opinion had to be the same as theirs. And if it wasn't, you were wrong. I didn't take kindly to that. And especially when that person would talk down to people, and I didn't like, you know, say, hey, you're really wrong. But I'd go and see them later on. I'd be like, excuse me, you know, that situation. And they were like, this has got nothing to do with you. I was like, in fact, I left after 17 years at a company. And 3 people who reported to that person left, you know, and you've got to kind of look at that. And I'm like, so yeah, that, I guess the obstacle for me was that I just didn't want to. I want to sign up for all the good things. I didn't want to sign up for those traits and the way that they minimized people and they were the obstacle for people. Their mindset, opinion, and just, yeah. Like I say, I try and look at the positive on things, and sometimes it's really hard. But the silver lining for me was that, again, I looked at the obstacles they presented me with, and I refused to carry that trait on. And so when it came to working with my team, I actually made a point of being 180 degrees the other way. Guess what? It made for a really conducive a good culture within my team. If I was wrong, people told me I was wrong. That was the culture I wanted, where we could all communicate with each other and in a mature way, that at least part of our conversations, a whole part of it, was actually listening to the other person. And I used to ask my team, like, just write down. Whenever I have a conversation with people, I will always write things down, because I need to process it and make sure that I actually understand, and I'll actually read it back to say, hey, is this what I think? Because I need to understand the point that they are bringing, where they're coming from. And my own personal one is just to write it down. So yeah, I didn't want to repeat that situation where people had obstacles. And by the way, some of my team, on a personal level, we were completely different, absolutely different. But I still promoted them. I still gave them the good stuff, even though like our viewpoint on things were not exactly the same, or, we still had a commonality on other things. And if it meant that they were a great person in the work that they did and everything, heck yes, they need to be recognized for that. I always said, yeah, we've got to be good people. Yeah.
Anything the participants want to say after that?
I could add few remarks here, if it's all right, Diane, here again.
Yes.
So, first of all, I also do the same thing as Hamish. I also try to write down the most important things when I talk to people. Just a remark. I tend to use pencil and paper. It takes it's less intrusive than using the computer. It's much faster. I can do notes faster, and I don't need to focus on. I can still focus on the conversation. But maybe this is because I'm older. But I still prefer to take notes with pencil and paper. Yes.
Yeah. It's probably the generation, because the younger people, they just I don't think they know how to write on a piece of paper anymore.
I still take notes on pencil and paper, and then I put it in the computer.
I just have a really hard time reading my handwriting when I write it down. So like it is definitely faster, but then I'm like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, same here. I write directly on the computer. I got used to it because I have to document everything I do. But yeah, it's harder, but you get, as you do it, you get more practice. So I'm good. I used to have on my finger, I used to have this little thing, like the little, from writing too hard. Now I don't have it anymore. So I remember it was like huge. Now I don't have it anymore.
Do you have anything else you wanted to comment on?
Well, it was kind of hard for me to listen all of the experiences you had. I mean, seriously, I didn't have practically nothing that would be comparable. Actually, once it happened to me, but this was more like funny story than anything else, that a younger girl was promoted to CTO instead of me. But the manager came first to me that this is my turn. So I asked, how does it look like? And he said, let's try. And the first day I spent whole day on meetings. The second day he told me I should start wearing a tie and a suit. And the third day he told me that I should start playing golf instead of basketball. And I said, fuck that shit, I'm not doing this. And I went back to development. And then a younger girl was promoted, but it was not a discrimination. It was my decision.
Nice. All right, we got one final question here, and this is a free-for-all question too. So, what is the best way for other people to provide allyship to us with our identities? I know Hamish has already talked about providing allyship to some of his people before, so we'll save him for last year, and he's already told some stories, so he can think of something else to tell us. Jess, you want to start there?
Sure. So I recently watched Andy Mallon give a presentation at Group Buy, which was excellent. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you go find it. It's on YouTube and is an amazing, basically like Ally 101 on how to be a good ally, what all the terms mean. And he has some great stories, and he's just a great presenter all around. So recommend that. But one of the things he said was to be able to like transfer our privilege, right? We have to recognize the privilege we have, and to be able to help the people that are underrepresented. Because he basically said, if they didn't need our help, they would have fixed the problems, right? They've been trying for years and decades and probably even centuries to level the playing field and to basically solve these issues, and they can't do it without our help, right? So we need to recognize what we can bring to the other groups, and we all can, right? We all have privilege. I'm white, I'm educated, I have a roof above my head. Like I have all of these things that, excuse me, that I can bring to be a good ally to other people. So I think just recognizing our privilege and being able to kind of transfer that and help is probably the biggest thing that other people could do, in my opinion.
Michelle?
Yeah, well, I personally try to lead by example. So I try to talk at the same level. For example, I have some colleagues that are maybe are less, I don't know how to say it without being a little bit offensive, but they have less skill set or less potential. So I'm trying to help them in any way I can. And every time they do something like great, I make sure that their managers, they know about it. I'm trying to be kind to everybody. Sometimes it's hard, you know, but I'm trying to be helpful and kind and not talk, you know, behind the backs. When somebody does something to me, I try to be open and let that person know personally first, and talk to them, you know, on a personal level. Just try to take care of the conflict. I don't tend to escalate unless, you know, unless it's really something that I cannot handle with that person. And I really believe in what Hamish said. If you are kind, if you are understanding, if you listen, then people tend to come to you. And a lot of the people that I work with, they tend to come talk to me about their issues, and they come for advice because they know that I will help them. I will even vet for them with their managers or with the company. As much as I can, and I will never, you know, tell their secrets. So I think by being, you know, by leading by examples, we can help other people, because they will, you know, when we work with people will see you as a leader rather than a boss, and they will follow you and will try to imitate you. This is what I'm thinking. Not everybody, unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like when you see something happening that's like happening, especially to someone else or even to yourself, is to make sure you speak up politely. Of course, you don't want to go on a rampage, and help the other person understand why whatever they said was inappropriate, or and try to explain to them why they need to approach that in a different way. So
yeah. So I do have I had an incident with my previous manager where after working with him like for a month, he gave me a terrible review. Okay. And that for me, that was an example of something that you cannot do, because I've never got a bad review. And if you look at the review, it's really based on his point of view that is totally not related to what I do. And I felt like I cannot talk to this person directly because it was very, very offensive. I went to the manager on top of him that was my previous manager. And I said, look, listen, look at the report. What do you think? And he said, what? This is what he said about you? That was a case where I didn't know how to handle things. And eventually I've asked officially to just move team, and I was able to do that. But that was like a case where I was speechless. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't want to continue working with that manager. But for me, it's like to learn, learn how to not do things, right? But this person keeps being like that. It's a person that I cannot, there's no chemistry, I cannot work with. So I just try to avoid this person.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to escalate. I'd like to point out that Jess put the Annie Mallon's group by presentation in the chat. We have 5 minutes. So, and Hamish, your turn.
Thanks, Jess, for putting that in there in the chat, because Andy is a great mate of mine, and I catch up every well, not enough, but I love catching up with Andy because I feel like it's a refresher course, and I come along with a couple of questions. I'm like, can you help me, mate? And I think that's important. And the reason why I think it's important is because when in anything I do, I come to a pretty quick realization I don't know everything, and I need help from people that like to help people. And so I definitely surround myself with people that can mentor me to be a better person, because ergo, I'm gonna spread the love. And so for me, it's continuing on my journey of being a better person and helping people that are not being treated to the best that they should be. I talk pretty quick, and my actions are pretty quick, and that's something I need to personally think about, is that I need to be aware of my words and actions. And I think that's a really good starter. Just again, having conversations, just understanding people. And it's been really awesome to be part of this panel. I really appreciate hanging out with you all, and thank you for the people that came along too. It's absolutely worth getting up real early in the morning, I tell you. It's a great start to my day. My day is just going to be awesome from here. So, thank you.
Long day.
Yeah.
He's got the energy for it. I've seen him before in action at Sequel Idol. He has plenty of energy. So, any more comments from the participants before it closes down? We only got like 1 minute. A minute says, sadly.
I would just second what Hamish said. It's been great to be part of this. Thanks for all your hard work, Tracy, in pulling it together. So,
great questions, and I've been part of other round tables where it was very awkward and a lot of silence. So you've made it great, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I've enjoyed being here too, and all of you contributions were great.
And let me have the final words. A very heartfelt note for Tracy. Tracy, thank you so much for taking this up. Let me tell you, and not taking any names, but because this was the first time we did a topic like this. We've done Women in Technology back in India when this conference was in person, but we definitely were, committed to take this topic. And we reached out to someone, but I saw people were finding reasons and excuses not to take up this topic. And my response was, and Hamish knows more about this, my response was, if this topic is close to your heart, find reasons to take it up. Do not find reasons not to take it up. So Tracy, thank you so very much that you came forward and took up this topic and made DPS 2020 a whole lot better with this topic. Thank you very much once again.
No problem. Happy to do it.
All
Thank
right.
you very much, everybody.
Goodbye, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Dejan. Thanks, Henrik. All the attendees. Thanks, panelists. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.